just want to put out an announcement. This is not the podcast I've been talking about. There's going to be a total of around 3 to 4 of them, and I'm working on the end of the fourth one. So this is not that one. But the reason why I chose that song is because Hood Mentality by Ice Cube is actually talking about getting an education to be beneficial to yourself. And if you can't shake the hood mentality, then you have no room to grow. That's what the song is actually about. Bettering yourself and making sound decisions. Now, moving on. So this one's going to be a little bit different. This is off the top, and it's because I haven't got around to doing the ones I've been talking about, but I wanted to do something. I'm hoping to be able to release those either by this afternoon or tomorrow. Now, this one, though, is going to talk about work ethic and other things that go. I get this a lot from people wanting to know how I go on a little bit of sleep, why I do it, why am I always working, why am I always striving? And to simply say that the main reason for that is, like I said in previous episodes, like the homelessness. I dropped a hint that I used to be homeless. I'm an ex-addict, for example, too. Now, so my work ethic comes from that, from never wanting to end up in those situations again. And I've worked a lot of jobs, more than what I like to admit. And because I'm one of those people that if I lose something, I'm going to get another one right away. It doesn't matter. I'm also one of those people that, at the end of the day, I believe what a man is supposed to do is provide for his family. It is important to spend time with your family. It is. Nobody can ever deny that because that is sound truths, proven time and time again. And that's great. However, you also have to have a work ethic. You also have to be putting more out there so that you can provide for your family. Because if you can't provide money financially for your family, then how good of a life are you actually providing for your family? Because I'll hear this a lot from people like, hey man, I would rather be home spending time with my family than being at work, Really? Because I would rather be making money so I could take my family on a vacation, so I could take my family out to an event, so I'll know that the rent is taken care of or the mortgage. To me, that means more than anything else. To be able to be like, oh, they're hungry, let me go be able to get them something to eat. You know what I mean? So I've had a lot of jobs that are rough. I was the type of person that someone could come up to me, and it's happened to me before, even when I was homeless. They would pull up to the thing and they'd be like, hey, I need a couple guys to do this. And I'm going to tell you right now, those type of jobs, you're talking shoveling horse manure, type of stuff like that are just basically like what you would see on Mike Rowe's Dirty Jobs. Those are the type of jobs I would go after. And in hopes that I would actually get a steady position in those type of fields, because those are jobs that most people aren't willing to do because of a couple factors. They're dangerous, they're nasty. Normally it's it's normally the type of work that's like, when you say you do it, people are like, ugh, really? But with those people that say, ooh, really, don't realize that those jobs are paying like $12, $13, $14, $15, $17 an hour. You know what I mean? So yeah, you might smell like shit at the end of the day. You might smell like chemicals at the end of the day. But you know what? You're also clearing out a lot of money on your paycheck. You know what I mean? When I was homeless, this old cat told me one time, he said, Mike, no matter what you do, don't be too ashamed to make $1. You know what I mean? Don't sell yourself short. But don't be afraid to make another $1. Take the job. Because with one job, you could always get another job. So, for example, for a long time, I was a overnight dishwasher at a Denny's. So I'd go to work about, 7 p.m. This is when I was around 20 years old, 19. I was washing dishes at a Denny's. And, that included cleaning and other stuff. And then I would go home and Remember earlier when I said I was an ex-addict. So I'd go home and I would sell stuff. I'm not going to say what. During that time period of my life. And I would try to get some sleep. Wake up after about 4 or 5 hours, maybe 6. And then I would go be a line cook around noon at a Dairy Queen. And basically work until about 5. You know what I mean? Go home. Go back to work. And what that did to me was develop a tremendous work ethic because I started seeing the amount of money I was making. At the same time, on the weekends, whatever days off I had, I was also helping another guy pouring cement at his house on different projects that he was building, painting walls, etc. My point being, I was doing whatever it takes to get off the streets. You should never be too proud not to do something. For example, I'll give you another example. When I was working at a Wendy's, when this guy that I met, his name was Igor, he's from the Ukraine. And Igor was a really interesting guy. He has a really rough past in the old country. And for the sake of Igor, I'm not going to go into detail about that, about what he did. Because I'm sure he don't want people knowing. Because he's a preacher now. Now, but what I will say is I gave this guy a ride home one day. I said, Igor, if you give me a ride home, it's only 3 blocks. I'll give you $5 for gas. I just don't feel like walking, So we pull up to a liquor store because I wanted to get a 6-pack of beer and a pack of smokes. It was around payday, if I remember right. And this homeless guy came up. And then, as I was walking out of the store, they were chopping it up. I see him handling the $5 and an additional $5. And I said, Igor, what are you doing, man? Why? I just gave you that. Why would you just turn around and give it to him like that, And he looked at me. And again, I'm not going to go in detail about the whole story about what he told me he did in the old country, but I will leave it like this. He looked at me and he said, my friend, I have a roof over my head, a running car, 2 jobs, and a loving wife. What more do I need to make myself happy? That man probably needs it more than I do. I looked really confused, and that's when he told me the story. But I don't want to say that. This is as tempting as it is. But it changed my perspective a lot. Because Igor's roommate, we used to be a scientist in the old country. But because he was an immigrant, and he was a legal immigrant, keep that in mind, legal. He couldn't use the type of, whatever. I don't know legally what he could and can't do. I just know that they wouldn't let him use his degree over here. But that same guy, was the same way. They work at 2 or 3 jobs. And I've met a lot of people like this. When I was working, or when I was going to school at Sacramento City College, this young guy was from South Africa. And Sacramento City College is on Freeport Boulevard in Sacramento, California. So, Freeport Boulevard is interesting because one side of it is a neighborhood that's called Oak Park, and it's a notorious, it's an older neighborhood that's considered the ghetto. And the other side is downtown. And this guy from Africa used to get so mad when he saw people because he said, I don't understand. And he said it with this African accent, He said, I don't understand why they complain so much. He said, I've been in this country now for 2 years on a visa, and I'm going to school full time. He said, and I'm working 2 jobs at the same time. So if I could do it, why can't they do it when they were born here? Why can't they do it when they were born here? Instead, they just cry and complain. And I remember looking at him going, that's an interesting perspective to have on it, because here's a guy that's like, man, when you get in this guy's car, there was probably 15, 20 coffee cups empty on his floorboard. The guy was going on nothing but caffeine, you know? And hardly no sleep, but he was doing it. Because he had this dream that eventually he was going to move his family over here with visas, and they're going to have a nice family. And you know what? As far as I know, last time I checked, he actually did it. So my point is work ethic is something that I think you either are brought up with, or you've gone through something in your life so traumatic that has made you into what I commonly call a workhorse. You're not going to give up. You're going to keep striving no matter what, because you never want to go through what you've experienced before, you know. And when I say brought up like that, I mean, back in the day, men were brought up to work, you know. I'm not too quite sure what happened since the 1980s, because in the 1980s, the economy was booming and jobs were good. You know, things were going really freaking good. But something happened along the lines to where people quit trying so hard. People started complaining more, you know. And I've been through far too much in my life to complain about trivial shit. You know, with that said, if I notice something that's kind of like, come on, man, where's the common sense at? I might speak on it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like, let's use some common sense and think about this rationally kind of thing, because I don't feel like you are. You know what I mean? Because you have to have a work ethic. And, you know, and part of a crew, to me, and I've been a shift manager, I have been a crew trainer, you know, and one of the jobs I really had built me up a lot was not even that too far back. And that was when I worked for LW Environmental Services. And that job is where I got certified by OSHA, HAZWOPER, hazmat work. The list goes on and on. There's ultimately like 6 different certifications I got throughout that job. But basically what we did was clean out oil tanks and responded to spills such as airplanes, tankers spilled over, oil being spilled in the water. And my area of expertise in that field was doing small confined space human rescue. So they trained me in weather radar technology, like being able to basically being able to tell on a weather map on your phone, because I had to monitor that what they call atmosphere readings, both environmentally, meaning weather, and chemical readings. You know what I mean? And I did that really good. And you know, the thing is though, it was a very dangerous job, and it did teach me a lot about work ethic, because I was working with these guys that were like, they're, you know, different ages, but it was the older cats that really got me, you know. There was this one old guy, for instance, you know, he told me, he goes, I've been doing that type of work since I can remember. And this is in the town of Cushing outside of Drumright. And it was a guy in Drumright. He was a really old gray hair guy. He used to crack me up. He said, back when I did it, we had wooden tanks and we went in with fucking boxers. Because you got all these people fucking belly aching and crying and shit. They wouldn't have lasted a fucking day with us, let alone a couple hours. You know, that really spoke to me. I was like, damn, you know, that's an interesting way to think about it. And this type of job, my phone would ring at like anytime, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And when that phone ringed, what I heard on the other end was, get your ass to the shop, there's been a spill, click. And if I didn't get my ass to the shop, I didn't have a job the next day. Cut and dry, simple as that. You know what I mean? So it developed me to that habit, you know. So there's a lot of things that go into my work ethic, and a lot of reasons why I have it the way I do. Basically, the long story short of it is I'm not ashamed to do whatever it takes to get the job done. There's nothing that's going to be so bad to where I'm going to be like, you know what? I ain't fucking doing it. There's just nothing that bad in life, you know? If you're getting paid to do it, it's just as simple as that. You're getting paid to do it. You know what I mean? And if you don't like what you're getting paid to do, find something else. You get what I'm saying? If you don't like what you're doing, get your ass up and try to find something else. Now, with that said, also don't get yourself trapped. Now, I spoke a lot about work ethic so far, you know, different little personal testimonies, whatever. I do that when I'm doing off the top. That's why I prefer research material. This is just straight off the top because I woke up this feeling. A wise man once said to enjoy what you're doing. Because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're going to be miserable. And misery will spread like a virus and affect everybody else. You get what I'm saying? And that goes into people who lead. I learned that when I was a crew leader. And I was a crew leader at different fast food places, you know. It's something that different places would speak on. Don't be too upbeat, but constantly signify the benefits to what you're doing. Get them pumped up. Get them ready to do it. You know what I mean? For instance, I've never worked there, but I know people that have. At Walmart, they do something where they do cheers and jumping jacks, the stalking crew overnight. And the reason why they do this is to get their blood flowing, because when your blood gets flowing, you become happier and energetic. So you'll get more done in theory. That's the reason why they do that. I'm not going that far, but however, I do believe that part of being a good leader is leading by example. Okay? You must lead by example to what you feel the end motive is. If you can't lead by example, then what are you leading? That means that, let me put it like this. If you're constantly belly aching and complaining, then your crew, over a period of time, is going to pick up on that, and they're going to start complaining and belly aching. Because that's what you're showing. You know what I mean? But if you're like, you know what? I'm still getting my check. I'm still doing my job. We still got something to do, and I'm still going to get paid for it. And I think that we should just roll forward. Let's let whatever happens, happens. You know what I mean? You're going to create this positive chain. There's two types of chains that can happen when you're trying to lead people. Positivity and negativity. Two big chains. Positivity can be thrown out there like a lifeline and make people in the most tiresome and most mentally challenged situations turn that chain around and start accomplishing something. This goes for even dangerous type of work. There's situations where guys are sitting there like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, man. I can't breathe. I'm sweating so much. And somebody be like, come on, man, just work through it. Here's some Gatorade. You know, we only got so many hours left, man. Here's some Gatorade. Why don't you take a breather? Sit down. And while they're sitting down, you're just like, come on, man. We got like fucking 3 hours left, you know. And then, you get to be off and spend some time with your family. You got all this money coming your way. And, you got this nice check coming. And it's going to be fucking good, man. And that guy's going to be like, you know what? Yeah, I got this. I think I was just overheated. That goes back to the oil field. Most of the time when I had to respond to something, when I was doing small confined space rescue, it was what is commonly called dehydration or overheat exhaustion. Because it's very, very extreme type of work. And I watch these guys as well as myself go through this. You work yourself so hard to where you feel like you're going to pass out. You got to take a breather. You know what I mean? Because you're so beat down. You take that breather, you get pumped back up, you get back in there, and you get your shit done. You know what I'm saying? It creates this positivity chain. So we had good leaders. You know what I mean? Yeah, they might break your balls, talk shit, and you feel like socking them at the end of the day. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by positivity chain versus negativity. A negativity chain is when you have a leader that's like, can you believe that this shit is happening over here? This person's fucking doing this, blah, 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 boo, 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 blah, 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 boo, boo, boo. Now you're creating conspiracies, anger, frustration, tiredness, depression, and ultimately, a weaker team. That goes back to team building. See, there's just certain things that you rely on, certain things you don't. Now, when I was working at Sonic, one of my buddies, I helped get him the job. And I remember the manager being like, what do you think I should do? He's called in like 3 times with an excuse in 1 week. And now here comes another excuse. And, what do you think? Because he would calmly smoke cigarettes and like just ask managers or crew leaders, what do you guys think? And everybody said the same thing. This is the 3rd time. Let his ass go. Well, this guy came in. You can't fucking do that. You can't do that. That is an excuse. You can't do that. He said, really? I can't? And he opened up his drawer, and there was a stack of applications, just a huge stack. He said, you know what this is? He said, this is phone numbers of people I could call, and I could get you replaced by tomorrow morning. And I remember thinking to myself, that's how easy it is. You get what I'm saying? I remember that's a thought that I had. This is how easy it is to be replaced. In the business world, business people deal with numbers. Every single employee they have, they might like personally. But at the end of the day, they're dealing with numbers. And you're just a number. Thing about numbers is, numbers can be replaced. So in order to last, I would suggest realizing that you're nothing but a number and to make yourself a valued number, i.e., meaning a valued employee. You know what I mean? It's that simple. I don't understand why it's so hard. For example, my ex, she was a legal immigrant. Her family was legal immigrants. They were Hmong. And her dad was 60, 70-something years old. And he was working the assembly line at Bowflex, for years. Probably 20 years, something like that, and counting. And he'd be so sore when he came home. So sore. His body aching, and he's so sore, and her mom would bring him green tea and then rub him down with Tiger Balm on his joints. Because he'd be like, it hurts so bad. And he would do stuff like she would soak his feet in this chemical bath that they believe take toxins out of your body. And the next day, at 4 o'clock in the morning, he went back to the assembly line and did the same thing again. And he might have smoked like a freight train, but he went every day. You know what I mean? And her mother would be so tired. Her eyes were constantly red and watery because she was so tired. She worked at a factory that developed contact lenses and eyeglasses and stuff like that. And the same thing. They both were so tired all the time, but they both worked their tails off daily. No matter how much pain they were in, no matter how exhausted they were, no matter how tired they were, they still got up and went to work. They might have been complaining while they were doing it, but they were doing it. Okay? So I guess really There's a lot of factors to work ethic that I've learned. A lot of it is seeing what other people have gone through and me going, you know what? I don't really got it that fucking bad. I really don't. This girl's almost bleeding out of her eye and she's getting up and going to work. And really what it did was teach their children a tremendous amount of work ethic. Like, I might have mixed feelings about my ex. Because she is my ex after all. I cannot deny the fact that the girl had a work ethic, though. When she worked at Cisco Foods, she outworked every guy. She started out on the bottom, and she outworked so many guys. She's the only female, and she outworked so many guys that they said, I guess they were trying to get rid of her. They threw her in a deep freezer, thinking I was going to do the trick. And she outworked them there, too. You know what I mean? And excelled at it. And then she would do crazy shit, like, go to the gym at 2 a.m. to like 5, whatever. So, her brothers they're a little bit different. They were hustlers. So they would work jobs like, back home in California, we have Round Table Pizza, So they would work like 40 plus hours there. And then within between shifts or in between time off, they'd be hustling and doing stuff like one brother was doing stuff at recording at a studio, and the other one was focusing on photographing, and etc. So I think being exposed to a lot of different cultures and a lot of different things taught me a lot about working. It taught me a lot about what really matters. And that's why I started off the way I did. You need to realize that so often in times, you hear people say, I'm tired. I'm so beat down. I don't think I could do it anymore. Ask yourself this. How bad do you really have it? Now, I can say that because I've done jobs to where they're life-threatening jobs. I was exposed to chemicals on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? On a daily basis. I worked jobs to where you could fall off the side of a building easily. Very easily. Very dangerous type of environments. Now, granted, when my son was born, I decided when I held him. He wasn't born until I was in my 30s. And I remember holding him, and it changed my perspective on the world instantly. I realized I no longer wanted the job to where I was on a road living in hotel rooms constantly because I didn't want to be away from him. Even if I couldn't see him for more than 2 hours, I at least wanted to see him every day. You know what I mean? Because before that, if somebody would tell me, yeah, I got this amazing job, but you're going to have to be in Louisiana, Texas, Kansas, blah, 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 blah. But the pay is this. I would jump on it like white on rice. What is it involved? I mean, for instance, during the interview process, I'll go back to LWT. I was actually applying for a different company. It was a joint company. I was applying for the sandblasting crew, and I remember going through the interview, and Bob looked at me and he said, by the way, do you have life insurance? And I said, no. Why? He said, well, we're going to hire you, and I recommend you get some. And I said, pardon me, what am I going to be doing again? You know what I'm saying? And he said what it is, and I said, how much does it pay again? People, it was only like $11 an hour. But I thought that was so much money that I was like, sign me up. You know what I mean? So I had this uncanny drive. But again, I go back to that. I think, as a man, your job is to provide for your family. Spend time with your family when you can. Because you know what? Your family is going to understand, hey, daddy's out making money to make sure that we have things that we need. And that's what he's trying to do. Because he's doing what a man's supposed to do. What do you think a kid would rather hear? Daddy's out making money, or see mommy and daddy fighting over money? Which do you think the kid is going to affect later on in life more? Do you get what I'm saying? So this argument that you hear about people saying, hey, I want to be home more with my family, that's great. If you can work from home, then do what you got to do. This is not a feasible economy to be able to do that in. Now, part of being a leader is leading by example. You have to put forth an example for what you want other people to follow through. If you can't put that example out there to what you expect and go by that example, how are your crew going to respond to that? Are they going to respond by, let me put my best foot forward and let me bust my ass and get this shit done in every which way I can? Or are they going to respond with, you know what? Fuck it. You know what I mean? Those two things factor in. Those things matter. You know, and I'm going through a lot of different jobs history. I could go into detail about which jobs I'm referring to and which jobs I'm not because, you know, I've worked so many different ones. I've done so many different jobs. From kitchen work, from shoveling shit, from hazmat work, dishwashing. Bailey, long story short of it is, my area of expertise is areas of fast food working and labor working. Back freaking labor working. Okay, when I say back labor working, what I'm referring to is what I got stuck with when I worked these type of labor jobs was they put me with the Mexicans. And you know what I learned? I learned something really fucking quick. Really quick. You work your ass off, or they're going to push you the fuck out. You know what I mean? Because if you don't, they will push your ass out. And they will get somebody else hired. It's that fucking simple. You know what I mean? These guys will party like nobody else's business. I mean, you will think you're at a freaking frat party. Mixed with family and kids running around. And they go to sleep for like 2.5, 3 hours. And they start slamming coffee as soon as they fucking get up. They're putting on their work boots and they're slamming fucking coffee. And then they're like smoking 3 fucking cigarettes. And then they're going to fucking work for like fucking 10, 12 fucking hour days. Then they get off and they party some more. You know what I mean? So I have admiration and respect for that because that's where I got a lot of it at, you know, working with these guys. And they liked me. Things would happen. Like when I was doing metal roof installation, I was installing metal roofs for commercial properties. And I was with a group of guys that were all from Mexico. And they knew how I felt about illegal immigration. We talked about it, actually. I'll never forget that day. And they kind of looked at me like, you know, at least you got the cojones to tell us that. But that's not why they liked me. Why they liked me was I got my fucking arm cut open. Bad. And they said, amigo, you need to go to the hospital. We take you to the hospital. I said, no, man, I'm good. I said, let me have 2 bandanas. They said, what? I said, let me get 2 bandanas. They said, okay. So I got the 2 bandanas. And what I did was I took one and I wrapped it around the wound. And then I asked them for sealant. And I put this clear coating of stuff over the top. Just to get me through the rest of the work shift, you know. And I took the other bandana, I covered it up over it. No, it wasn't. It wasn't a clear thing. It wasn't a clear thing. It was it was tape. I asked it for duct tape. So I wrapped my arm in duct tape, and then I took the bandanas, I put it over it. I said, all right, let's finish this job. And I said, see, let's go. You know what I mean? They fell in love with me, man. After the job, they're like, hey, you come to Louisiana with us. We got 5 other jobs. You know what I mean? See, I knew if I said, yeah, I need to go to the hospital, you know, I'm bleeding, I need to go, they're going to be like, you know what, let's take them, and then we'll get fucking rid of them. Hell, they might even leave me fucking there. You know what I mean? But instead, I was like, fuck it, let's go. Let's get this shit done. They were just astonished They said they had 2 gringos before me. They cried all the time. They're tired all the time. They complained all the time. They said, no good, no good. And that was it. So, I knew this, so I knew how to work with them because I've been working with them since I was fucking 18, 19. So, I mean, growing up, I dated a lot of different girls from a lot of different countries. And I got to know their families really well. Now, I have never backed down on my stance on illegal immigration ever for anybody, and I won't. I refuse to. You know what I mean? And they know that, but it's kind of one of those things where they might hate you for that, but they like you for so many other things that you're okay. You know what I mean? Like, man, he's a fucking prick about that, but fuck it. He can hang in there. You know what I mean? So, I really do believe that factors in a lot. You gotta roll with it. Like, there's another example to where back in the day I was working at Aaron Brothers, and I lived in South Atomas, and there was a big bridge. I'm talking a huge bridge that connects to North Atomas. And every day, even if it was raining really bad, I would put like trash bags over my uniform and my shirt and the bottoms, and I would either walk or ride my bike in a pouring down rain all the way to North Atomas to go work these 2 different jobs and back again. I do the same thing every day. You know what I mean? Me and my ex, we got into a fight, and my whole finger split fucking open. I mean, it was just hanging there, Like, I'm talking like hanging, like, you could almost just snap it off. You know what I mean? And I said, I think I need to go to the hospital. She goes, yeah, you can fucking walk. You know what happened? I ended up going to the hospital. I will never do that again because all they did was super glue the shit. They sent me a huge bill for it. You know what I mean? However, I didn't take a day off. The very next morning, I was at work again. So, you have to have this. In order to be successful, you have to put forth effort. That's like if you listen to a lot of motivational speakers. One of my favorite ones is Gary Vaynerchuk, And he always talks about drive, ambition, and needing to have that to be able to achieve your dreams. You could be going on, this guy, he goes on very little sleep, but he's accomplishing so fucking much and so rapidly. Because he is an immigrant son. And he has this work ethic that's like no fucking body else, He's just, get to the grind, let's get it fucking done, So, again, lead by example, and that's what he does. He has this really relaxed office. Like when you see him in his videos where he's in his office, he's wearing like Chuck Taylor's jeans and a t-shirt, and he has this fucking relaxed atmosphere type of vibe going on with it. And at the same time, though, he's talking about where's the numbers at. I don't give a fuck if you're tired. We need to get this done. We need to launch this new product. We need to launch this new line. You're tired as fuck. Go drink an espresso. You know what I mean? You really do have to have that to be able to accomplish anything. You have to have a drive and ambition, because without it, you're not going to do anything. You're not going to accomplish anything. You're going to be looking at numbers like, wow, these numbers are the same as last year. You know what I mean? If you're running a business. And I also went to Sacramento City College. I also took business and general business, business law, and marketing. And that's where I learned that. If your company doesn't have an ambition and it doesn't have an end goal for what they're doing, and you don't have what I call a workhorse team, okay? And what that means is from the top to the bottom, if the person on top doesn't have that drive, then the other people will feed off of that. And it'll be like a domino effect until it crashes down on the ground. You know what I mean? You could be looking at numbers like, why aren't we producing the numbers that we want? Why are we going either behind, or why does it seem like we're going this way? instead of going up. This goes back to earlier when I talked about lead by example. You know what I mean? I'm running out of time here, but one of my favorite managers I ever had. You know what I mean? One of my favorite ones. And he was actually a Mexican dude. He was a legal immigrant, though, not illegal. And I worked underneath him at a restaurant. And him and his brother who owned the place, they would always make you feel like family. You're tired. You're cranky. That's okay. We got you some coffee coming your way. He would do stuff like buy the whole fucking crew Monsters. You know what I mean? And then like get you real pumped up for the day, you know? Hey man, we got this big party coming in. We got to get this done. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And you feel so energetic and so pumped up. You're like, yeah, let's fucking do it. That's what I call leading by example. Because he made you feel like, hey, do what I'm doing and we're going to make it, you know? And that goes back to that persona of leading by example and trying to maintain. If you have a company, if you're a manager of a team, whatever, you have to have that persona. You have to have that drive and that ambition because you want other people to have the same thing, and it's contagious. Negativity can be contagious and positivity can be contagious. Okay, if your negativity, that's going to spread like a virus, and positivity will do the same thing. I'd rather have positivity spread like a virus than negativity. Because negativity ultimately will make you feel like depressed and make everybody just want to leave. You know what I'm saying? Positivity will make people go, you know what, I'm tired, but let's fucking do it. You know? You have to have that in your life. But I also feel like people don't realize how easily they're replaced. You know? Because so often you have this, what I call self-entitled generation. To where nowadays it seems like people are getting jobs and just feel like they're owed these jobs. You know, like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm here, and you know what? You're not going to get rid of me because blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. And that's what I call a self-entitled prick. You know what I mean? Because everybody's replaceable. The only person that's not replaceable is the main fucking guy. You know what I mean? The main fucking guy would be the owners. You know, if it's like a chain restaurant, like a franchise, the guy that owns it can't be replaced, but everybody else can. I've worked at a restaurant before, and you came in and you think everything's all good, and turn around and go, "What the fuck happened to everybody? Everybody's gone. Oh, everybody was laid off. There's somebody else taking it over. What? When did that happen? Oh, yesterday." I literally had been there. For instance, that Dairy Queen I worked at, the owner of it was arrested for embezzlement, and the assistant manager, which was his daughter, was arrested for cocaine possession on this same fucking day. I remember going to work, and I'm seeing all these cops outside, and I remember seeing her handcuffed, and I looked at the other cook that was training me, and his name was Hyro. I said, "Hyro, what the fuck happened, man?" He goes, "Oh, amigo, this happened, yo." I said, "What?" You know what I mean? I mean, it could happen that easy, people. It could happen that fast. You know? Did I worry? A little bit. Because I knew my income was going to go down. But I also knew I can get another thing like that. The reason why I use that snap method like that is because I know I have the ambition to do what it takes. Do you get what I'm saying? There's nothing that's going to be too bad for me to do. You know? Because I'm a firm believer that, I mean, it's like this. My mother raised me and my father to believe it's easier to find another job when you have a job versus, you know, when you don't. And the reason why they said that is because that way you still have money coming in. So whenever you do, it's not going to be that big of a hit on you. You know what I mean? I think that goes back to my work ethic, you know. I'm very observant. Very observant. However, I'm also very loyal. You know, I believe loyalty means more than a lot of other factors. I'll lay it out like this. Lead by example. have ambition, have drive, and create positivity. So, again, to revert that, lead by example, have positivity, so you can create positivity, create an energetic workforce. You know what I mean? Have ambition, have drive, be observant. You know what I mean? Observe everything that you can. That's how you grow. The more you grow, the more room you have to grow. The more you know, the more you can grow. That's why I believe in talking to people. Tell me about what you do. You know what I mean? Look around and see what's going on. Because there's more to it than what you think. You know? That's how I made it in different areas of restaurants. From cooking, to prepping, to dishwashing, to being a host, to being a bar back, to being a line cook, to being maintenance, to doing oil field work, construction work, welding, carpentry. You know? Because I was always like, let me know what you're doing, fuck. You know? You have to have that ambition and that drive. I think that's what our country is lacking right now. We have to get rid of this self-entitled mentality that people have. Because you are replaceable. So often people think, I'm not replaceable, I'm not replaceable. The fuck you aren't. You know what I mean? I've seen it too many times before. Way too many times before. People going, I'm not replaceable, I'm not replaceable. Oh, guess what? You're replaceable because they just did it. You know what I mean? And the worst feeling in the world is when it happens when you don't know it. And I can't lie, I've been a victim of that. You know, I have showed up to a job before and been like, when I was younger, you know, when I was full of just piss and vinegar and, you know, thought I was a shit. I used to suffer from that syndrome. On top of that experience. I used to be one of those people. Until it happened to me twice, 2 different times in my life. I showed up to work and I was like, what do you mean I'm gone? You know? Well, sorry. Damn. But I would get pissed off and I would smoke like 2 cigarettes. And then I would spend like roughly about an hour filling out different applications. You know? And my favorite thing to do was to go back in a different uniform and be like, yeah, I'm doing all right now. I'm actually making more than I was here. You know what I mean? That was probably stupid at the time, but, you know, it's just one of those things, man. I mean, I think work ethic is very important to have in life. I mean, it just is. And I don't see enough people having it anymore. Instead of work ethic, you have people just saying, gimme, 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 but don't let me work for it. You know what I mean? Gimme, 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 gimme. Gimme, 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 gimme. You got to work for that, man. Be willing to put in that time. Putting in time is another thing. If you're putting in time somewhere, put it in time. While you're putting in the time now, are you growing? You know what I mean? Are you striving? Are you growing? Are you learning more? You know? When you reach into your 40s, you should be pretty comfortable with what you're doing in your life. You know what I mean? Around this age is around the time you start thinking retirement, what you're going to do, just different things come in. We'll talk about later on, but yeah, I mean, by the time you're 40, you should really be asking yourself, where am I going with my life? You know what I mean? Do I have enough setback? I'm only in my 30s and I'm thinking like that. You know, like I'm focusing on credit. I'm focusing on having a house. I'm focusing on, like, you know, my fucking kids' futures. And, like, I want them to have money for school, you know. With the help of my dad, I actually have a college fund started for my kids. So I've already started thinking about things like that, you know. Because I had that ethic. So, bottom line is, work ethic is something that we need back. You know, I see it all the time. People want to go, illegal immigrants are stealing their jobs. The reason why they're doing it is they have a fucking work ethic. You know, that's what it is. They have a work ethic that a lot of Americans don't have anymore. And like I said earlier, I don't know what happened to it. But people would rather hire them over us because they'll do the job without complaining. And they'll do the job without demanding more and more and more. That's why they get them. And the immigrants who do stuff like this go, "Hey, amigo, I don't think I can come in no more because I got something else that pays more. I'm sorry that I gotta go." You know? The guy's like, "Well, fuck. It's okay, I got my buddy, he'll come work." You know, "Oh, okay, cool." You know, that's the reason why they hire him more. They don't have that self-entitled feeling. They might at home, but they don't have it at the job. I learned quickly. Be like them without being one of them. I have no love for illegal immigrants. But I love an immigrant's work ethic. Okay? There's a difference there. I believe they have a work ethic like no other. And I've been around enough people from different countries to know that from experience and firsthand. I've worked on crews to where the main language is Spanish or Russian or even Ukrainian. You know, I've worked on crews like that for so long that it's almost like you become one of them. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, long story short of it, you really do. It's kind of like you become one of them and there's just nothing you can do about it. You're going to, you know, when you work with them for that long, it just kind of happens, you know. But, you know, again, people need to wake up and realize that I think a lot of the problem with society in our country and the economy, it really does boil down to that. We're suffering from the self-entitled generation. We're suffering from the feeling of gimme, gimme, gimme without earning it. Let me experience all these great things without putting in time to get those great things, because you have to. You know what I mean? You have to put in the time and the effort to be able to do it. You can't just walk in somewhere and be like, "I want this, 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 and this," unless you have the qualifications to make those demands. You know what I mean? You can't just be like a roundabout regular employee and going, "You know what? I want fucking this and that." Because most people are going to look at you and be like, "All right, fine. There's a fucking door. Bye." You know, and I've been in situations like that in the employee room before where somebody's like, "You know what? I need this to happen or I'm fucking gone." And I've seen managers look at them and be like, "There's a fucking door. Bye. Later. Have a good life." And like 2 hours later, there's somebody in their spot. They've already hired somebody else. I've seen it so much in my life that I'm a firm believer that most people look at people like fucking numbers. And numbers are replaceable, so I'd rather be that valued number than the invalid number. I'd rather be the person that people are like, you know. I'd rather be the guy that people are like, "Yeah, he's kind of annoying and he's kind of out there. But damn it, he fucking works and does the fucking job." You know? I would rather be that guy. I'd rather be the guy that's like, "Man, fuck. He's so annoying. But damn it, he's getting shit done." And I strive for that. You know what I mean? You got to have that work ethic. And yeah, at the end of the day, I'm getting to that point in my life to where I get off of work and I got fucking aches in my body just like the people I was talking about earlier in this podcast. But I crack open a cold beer after work, hop in a warm shower, let that warm water hit all those different spots in my muscles, you know, and then I lay down and relax on the couch or something and go to bed, wake up, go back to work. You know what I mean? There's a lot of times where I have knee problems and it's hard for me to actually function at work, but I still work. And I still do what I got to do. You know what I mean? Because you have to have that in your DNA. So at any rate, we're going to end this segment. Basically, it's on work ethic, if you haven't noticed. It's something I feel like is lacking in America right now and growing in other countries, you know. We're also going to do one on the education system at some point as well, because I feel like that's another issue that our country is facing, is lack of good education. You know, and I wanted to hit the work ethic thing because I feel like our country is lacking work ethic so bad that we're getting laughed at by other countries. You know what I mean? Other countries look at our citizens like we're weak and feeble men. Other countries are producing tougher men than our own country. There is a time where people said Americans are tough son of a bitches. And they're going to do whatever the fuck it takes. They're scary as fuck because, one, they're the most aggressive army. Two, they're extremely intelligent. And three, their fucking citizens are work fucking horses, man. Don't fucking matter what they're doing. They're John Wayne. They're, James Dean. They're tough son of a bitches. They're, think about icons that we've had in the past. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin. Think about these people. What happened? You know what I mean? We need to get back to that. We need to get back to that work ethic. We need to get back to what made our country great. We need to get back to all of those factors in work ethic and drive and ambition. And so what? You're tired. Fucking have a beer. Deal with it. Because that's what it used to be like. You know what I mean? I want to point out something real quick before we end this. If you could think about this for a second, what do you think your great-great-grandfather would think of you today? You know what I mean? Do you think he's going to respect you as a man, or is he going to look at you like a whiny little bitch? You know what I mean? Because chances are, your great-great-grandfather probably was like, doing shit like being 17 years old and going into battle in World War II. Depending on your age. Not even fully grown yet, not even fully 18. And he's going into fucking battle with fucking missiles being launched at him every fucking which way. Do you think he's going to look at you and be like, what a man? Or is he going to look at you and be like, why the fuck are you bitching and crying? You know what I mean? These are the things that I think about to make myself get up and do whatever the fuck I got to do every day. You know what I mean? I think about things like that because I think that matters. I'm a history buff, so I see it a lot, like most of the people from the past would probably look at us like, look at these weak SOBs. Feeble fucking people. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, countries currently are laughing at us because guess what? They still have that in them. They still have that in them. We used to. We need to get back to that ethic, and we need to get back to that drive and that ambition so we can get back on top. Because until we do, we're not going to. So, food for thought. This has been one on work ethic. Like I said before, expect 3 to 4 more coming your way here pretty soon. I'm wrapping up on the 4th one currently. Still researching on it. And I'm sure you can tell by this one why I like to do research material before I do it so I can have numbers, factors, and dates, timelines, different things that go with it. But then I'm running out of time, so just expect 3 to 4 more coming your way here pretty soon. I'm wrapping up the 4th one currently. I'm planning on doing them back to back. So there'll be a lot more filling up here pretty soon, and thank you for bearing with me. More's coming your way.